South Korea's Jeju Island, with its beautiful and unique nature, as well as distinctive folk culture, is a popular tourist destination for both Koreans and visitors from all around the world. But there's more to the island if you take a deeper look. In today's Hallyu People segment, we connect live to a Danish visual artist, Jane Jin Kaisen, who explored Jeju Island and turned her experience into pieces of art. Hello, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, nice to meet you and thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, Jane, we first off want to start off by congratulating you on being selected as one of the nominees for this year's Korea Artist Prize by the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art Korea.
Wow, congratulations.
Right, so how do you feel about this?
Thank you. I mean, I feel wonderful. It was really special to open the exhibition. I'm showing a body of work for the first time. And it was wonderful to be able to premiere these works at MMCA in Korea and to introduce them to an audience in Korea.
Right, so please introduce us to your work that's currently being shown at the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art here in Seoul, which is Ieodo, Island Beyond the Sea.
Yeah, so Ieodo, Island Beyond the Sea is a presentation of 7 video works that I completed recently within the past 2 years. So they're all rather short, I would say rather imaginary and performative works that are all filmed in Jeju Island in various different natural environments. So, for example, some of them are filmed by the coast, some of them are underwater films, some of them are filmed in more mountainous landscapes, one in a lava cave. And so they all draw upon different stories and rituals and spiritual elements related to Jeju shamanic culture and cosmology. But at the same time, they also, I would say, touch upon some core themes, that in a sense also transcend the geography of Jeju and speak to questions of, what role myths and rituals play in humans' attempts at making sense of our place in the world.
Wow, that sounds beautiful just by listening to it and very interesting. What do you wish for exhibitors to take away from Ieodo? And is there anything in particular that should be given extra attention to?
Yeah, I mean, Ieodo is a Jeju mythical term, a concept that I was drawn to. It cannot be reduced to a single meaning, but among other things, it connotes a liminal space or an island beyond the sea. So it's both a term that is associated with the afterlife and in some ways speak to, also people's, to the particular condition of Jeju, of people who have been abandoned or shipwrecked. But it also connotes a sense of hope or aspiration, maybe of a society to come. And I think for me, when I was conceiving the works, I was thinking a lot about how we're faced with major challenges. I mean, climate crisis, social polarities, war, forms of injustice, and in some ways a collapse in meaning, and in some ways I was thinking about with the works, what other stories are there to navigate by? Are there other ways of relating to each other? So I think in many ways, the works try to highlight that, try to highlight different kinds of connection between people of different generations, our relationship to life and death, so they're also very, I would say, fundamental works in sort of dealing with major questions of reality.
Wow, very diverse aspects you just mentioned that really make you try to imagine of what you're trying to convey to the visitors. So really makes people to want to go to the exhibition to really understand your art. And Jane, if I'm correct, this is not the only time that you're using Jeju Island as a motive. Please tell us about your connection to Jeju and what you find fascinating or intriguing about the island.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it has been a motif in several of my past artworks as well. For example, Community of Parting, which is a film that I made for the Venice Biennial Korean Pavilion some years ago. And Reiterations of Dissent, which was a larger film project concerning the memories of the Jeju massacre. So, I mean, on the one hand, I have a personal connection to Jeju as a space. I was adopted to Denmark as a very young child, but my birth family still live in Jeju Island. So it's a place that I have returned to over the past 20 years. And for periods of time, I also lived in Jeju. And I think, I mean, beyond this personal connection, I think Jeju is a space that has a very rich and complex political history, spiritual culture. And so I think I've been drawn to some of these aspects and drawn to, looking at, I mean, not only Korea, but also the region from the lens of Jeju as an island space is very interesting. And so it's something, yeah, in that sense, I mean, also nature has been something that I have been returning to a lot in more recent years. Also in asking, perhaps what are more sustainable ways in which we can relate to each other, to nature? And I think actually there's a kind of very interesting and rich sort of cultural heritage in Jeju that also speak to this. So, yeah.
Jeju is definitely an interesting island to look at, and I see those few connections that you have with Jeju. Now, if we look at your work deals with themes such as memory, migration, border, and translation. What would you say is behind these preferences?
I mean, I think, I very much, I would say my works in some ways very much draw from both personal experience, but also try to connect that to larger, I would say, political histories, to cultural issues. So for me, these have been questions that have been, in some ways, necessary to deal with. I think speaking at first to also an experience of diaspora, of migration, of what it means to mediate, I would say in a sense from the thresholds of different cultures and languages and experiences has been something that, I have been committed to.
Now, Jane, we want to shift gears a little bit. Now, since the 2000s, Korean pop culture has become increasingly popular around the world. And now the Hallyu craze really is everywhere, I believe, probably also in Denmark. But how well do you think Korean art is being recognized on the global stage?
Well, I think as you say, Korean culture in general has really gained global attention. I think that has to do with, economic power, not only in the case of Korea, but in general. And this also spills over, I think, to art and visual, the visual arts as well. I think one of the things that I find really interesting and positive is that we're beginning to see more depth and nuances in terms of the cultural productions that are being recognized and circulated. So for instance, with Han Kang's recent Nobel Literature Prize, also a poet like Kim Hae-sun, I think has been interesting to see how these figures are becoming more recognized for works that are also very, I would say, feminist and political and formally very experimental, So it's interesting to see that it's not only mainstream Korean popular culture that is gaining recognition internationally, but also these more sort of edgy contributions.
Right, definitely some development we're seeing.
Right, and we definitely look forward to art now spreading around the globe. Now, your work is on Jeju. Do you have any plans to, come back to Korea for your artistic activities? And if yes, would you continue your exploration of Jeju, or is there any other themes that you're looking forward to going back and forth with Korea and Denmark?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely will return to Korea and to Jeju, and I have a feeling also that in some ways I will continue to, work with these locations. But I don't have anything, immediately sort of planned in terms of filming in Jeju.
We hope that you're going to give us some heads up later if you do come to Jeju and Korea. Now, one final question, Jane. What is your ultimate goal, if I may ask, that you hope to achieve with your art, and what are your plans to get there? And finally, also, please, a few words for your fans globally.
I mean, I think, I guess with my artistic works, I hope that they can contribute to a dialogue, to reflection around the themes, that they engage. I hope that they can somehow participate also in, I think, just broadening and nuancing people's perspectives and imagination.
All right, thank you very much, Jane, for today's talk and also for your inspiring work.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of Tuesday's edition of The Culture Wave. Thank you, Bella, as always.
You're welcome, and I'll be back on Thursday.
All right, see you on Thursday.